Okay, so let's unpack this. We're looking at a set of infographics today,
Mm.
pulling together some really key info on cockatiel care.
Right.
And our source for this deep dive is Lisa Morrison's website, Cockatiel Advice 101.
Yeah, some really practical visuals there.
Exactly. So the idea is to, cut through maybe some confusion and really unlock the essential points about keeping these birds well, using these guides you shared.
That's the plan. Uh, Basically hitting the big areas, nutrition, health signs, and some common behaviors too.
It's all interconnected, I imagine.
Definitely. It's about getting that focused, actionable knowledge, straight from this material.
Okay, so let's dive in. Nutrition. The infographics really seem to highlight specific things, like high-protein seeds, calcium-rich veggies, high-protein nuts. It's not just food, is it? It's about the right kind of food.
Absolutely. Not just any food. And what's crucial here, and you see this in the graphics, is understanding why these things matter. I mean, high protein isn't just a trendy term. It's fuel. Fuel for feather growth, especially during a molt, muscle health, just overall energy.
Right. Makes sense.
And calcium, especially from good sources. Like, think kale, broccoli, things where they can actually absorb it. It's totally non-negotiable.
Why is that? What happens without enough?
Well, you're risking serious problems, like egg binding in female birds, or just weak bones generally. So the quality, the specifics of the diet, it directly hits their basic body functions.
Okay, got it. So moving from what goes in to how the bird actually looks, the sources give us these comparison visuals, right? Signs of a healthy bird versus a sick one.
Yes, and this is, well, it's your first line of defense, really.
Seems fundamental.
It is, and what's interesting is how subtle it can be sometimes. A healthy cockatiel, they're alert, they're interacting, feathers look smooth, posture's good.
Upright and attentive.
Exactly. But a sick bird, often the signs are easy to miss if you're not really looking. Fluffed up feathers.
Trying to stay warm.
To conserve heat. Or they might be lethargic, sitting low on the perch, maybe changes in the droppings. Learning to spot those small shifts isn't just like nice to know. It's often the very first sign that you need to get them to a vet before things get, really bad.
Right, before it's too late. And they even drill down deeper on health. I saw separate graphics for lower respiratory infection symptoms and upper respiratory ones. For someone listening, maybe they know cockatiels can get respiratory problems. But why is splitting it out like that so important?
Well, it raises a really key question for you as an owner. Is this just a bit of a sniffle, or is it something potentially serious down in the lungs?
Okay.
Upper respiratory issues often show up as, maybe some nasal discharge, sneezing, maybe a bit of congestion you can hear. It's not comfortable for sure, but often manageable with treatment.
The lower
Respiratory infections are a whole different ballgame, much more serious. They affect the lungs, the air sacs, so you see things like tail bobbing when they breathe.
where the tail visibly moves up and down with each breath.
Exactly. Or open mouth breathing, maybe clicking sounds. If you see tail bobbing, for instance, that tells you this is likely an LRI, and that's an emergency.
This is something to wait on.
Definitely not. It helps you give the vet really specific, urgent information right away.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so beyond the purely physical stuff, the sources also touch on behavior. Things like toy preferences or cockatiel night frights.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder that care isn't just about food and checkups. It's their whole environment, their mental state too.
Absolutely. Night frights, for example, might sound kind of minor.
But it's really not for the bird's well-being and even safety. These are like sudden panic attacks when they're sleeping.
What triggers them?
Could be anything, really. A sudden noise, a shadow, and they just start thrashing around in the cage. They can get hurt.
Wow.
So understanding why it might happen, maybe it's that prey instinct kicking in when it's dark and they feel vulnerable, helps you prevent it. Maybe use a small nightlight or cover the cage carefully.
Practical steps and toys. Seems simple.
It seems simple, but giving them the right toys, ones that let them chew or forage or shred, that's super important for keeping them mentally stimulated, prevents boredom, which can lead to other behavioral issues.
Okay, so stepping back a bit, we've kind of touched on the need for specific nutrients, protein, calcium, looked at spotting health issues, those subtle signs versus obvious ones,
Healthy versus sick, yeah.
and the difference between upper and lower respiratory infections. Critical distinction there.
Certainly, yeah.
Plus these behavioral things like night fights and keeping them engaged with toys.
And if you look at it all together, these infographics really highlight how interconnected everything is for a cockatiel.
It's not just one thing.
Not at all. The food in their bowl, the tiny health cues you notice, understanding their anxieties, their need to play, it all weaves together. It's the whole picture of their health and, their happiness.
So what's the final thought for our listener here? Maybe something to consider is this. How does really paying attention to these specifics, the detailed signs, the exact nutritional needs, how does that fundamentally change how you interact with and care for your bird every single day?
Right. Does knowing this make you look at them or their setup or their food just a little bit differently tomorrow?
Something to mull over.